I'm Carmen, and you're watching The Davey Damage Show.
It is The Davey Damage Show for another episode, part 2 of the collection, checking out Trent's awesome toys that he's got. Now, if you like what you see so far, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, do all that YouTube shit. That'd be really awesome. If you don't like what you see, be sure to sniff a dick. Anyway, we're going to check out part 2 of Trent's collection. Here we go. So here we've got my mint on card Masters of the Universe collection. So I've been collecting this for about the last 5 years. Obviously it's a really slow process to put these sort of things together. They don't necessarily come up locally terribly often, so when they do you sort of got to pounce on it. As we head down there to Kora, I remember being in Europe, I think when I was about 4, and I got a Prince Adam and a Mossman while I was over there, and when my mum asked us to make a wish in a wishing well, I wished that I'd get Kora, so that was my penny's worth of wishing. You head along there and there's 3 figures that were from the 1987 film, which is Gwildor, Sarod and Blade, and had these ones as a kid, so it was really pretty important to recollect these. So Sarod's got the spark shooting action, it's got a bit of flint in there and can produce sparks. And then as we head down to the next row, we've got the commemorative series. So these were released, I think, in 2000 or thereabouts, and they did about 10 figures in the first wave, and then sort of about 8 in the second wave. So it was a nice way to sort of cheaply pick up mint on card representations of these figures without having to pay the ridiculous prices that they go for. I think Mattel sort of went for the first sort of 3 series. They didn't have to spend a lot on some of the more unique tooling and sculpts that they had later on in the line, so they got to do a fair bit of reuse. So probably made sense why they stuck with sort of the first 3 waves. But yeah, nice way to kind of complete or try and get some of the figures into this collection. So when the Filmation series and the Vintage line ended, we got a reimagining through the He-Man toy line and an associated jet lag cartoon. A very different size Buck. The more slender, space-styled, inspired line. But yeah, it was really important for me to collect this line because I did have a lot of the figures as a kid. So even though they probably get ridiculed a fair bit, I love the versions of them, and yeah, just love this line. Yeah, so we didn't get a lot of the 2000X stuff in Australia. We did get the first wave minus Panther, and then when the Snake Man stuff came out, I think it sort of got dumped here. We got a lot of stuff that wasn't released in the US. So yeah, it was pretty cool to actually walk into the shops and get this Snake Man. I remember being in the shop and basically filling up a trolley in Kmart and walking out, and there was a kid there going, "Oh, these are so cool," and I'm like, "Oh yeah," and he just probably was blown away by the fact there was a guy buying like 50 figures. In the line as well, we got some pretty cool stuff here in terms of the exclusives. This took me a long time to get, which was the Keldor figure. We got Keldor in the Master Universe Classics line, but we never got this head, which is essentially like the acid burning his head, and it sort of got that scream as part of it's being turned into the skull. So that was a Wizard World 2003 exclusive. I think you could also get him in a baggie, but just wanted the carded version. So yeah, some pretty cool exclusives done. They also did the Mossman, which is true to the original line. Looks pretty grumpy and like basically a flocked Beastman, which is what he was in the original. So yeah, gotta love a flocked figure. Pretty cool. Yeah, so Mattel did a line of 6 jumbo figures based on reproductions of the Master Universe vintage figures. Just blown up, so they took a leaf out of Gentle Giant's books and did these 6. Unfortunately, we didn't get the 8 back because they were probably reusing parts and they didn't want to get figures like Teela in there without additional cost. What you see here, I think, is when you sort of get the He-Man, the face sculpt isn't 100%, and I think they used the mold based on the commemoratives. And Mattel didn't keep basically the tooling or the molds to do the figures. So when they did the commemoratives back in the early 2000s, they busted open mint figures to recast, and so the head isn't a perfect representation of He-Man. But for the most part, these are just such big, bulky sort of figures, and they really, you know, we grew up with these figures when we were sort of 4, 5, 6 years old, and to hold one of these feels like you're holding, you know, the original figure in the hand, because obviously we've grown, and it's just a really nice feeling to have that big chunky figure in your hand. So here we've got my collection of Star Wars Black Series figures made by Hasbro in the 6-inch scale. I don't have a lot of the vintage 3 3/4 inch figures, so this is sort of my tribute to Star Wars. And because I'm a big 6-inch collector, it fits in pretty nicely with my collection. Interestingly, here you get to a figure like Leia, which was actually the first Leia figure put out, which is the slave version of Leia from Jabba's sail barge. And Disney, now that they have the Star Wars license, you probably won't see too many more versions of this character in the bondage outfit. And I'm pretty sure you won't see any kids' costumes of that one going forward as well. Interestingly, here when you get to the first wave figure like Darth Maul, you can see they utilised a lot of the sculpting for the clothes instead of the cloth goods, which is you'll see later on in the line with figures such as Farm Boy Luke. His whole outfit is made of cloth goods, so they sort of went away from that approach and used a lot more cloth goods later on, which I'm not particularly a huge fan of in the 6-inch scale. Some really nice figures of things like, you know, the Stormtroopers. I check out Instagram a fair bit, and you see some of the photos that people can take with these things, and they basically look like they're out of a movie. So that's, you know, pretty incredible to see what photography skills people have and what they can do with these sort of figures. And yeah, so they've been going for a number of waves now. They don't come out terribly frequently, so they're pretty easy to pick up, but unfortunately here in Australia there's not. It can be a bit hit and miss as to what you get and what you don't get, so you do find yourself sort of going to online retailers to pick a lot of these up. But yeah, then you get into things like from the Force Awakens, and now they're getting into figures from Rogue One as well, so you know, perfect merchandising opportunities to keep these things coming out for years and years and years. Big fan of some of the work done by DC Direct / DC Collectibles. Here we got some of the CoverGirls figures and the different iterations of the CoverGirls. So yeah, they're statues based on really iconic females in the DC universe, and a few other things thrown in there for good measure. So you got the sort of the Harley from the Arkham Asylum. This was an exclusive done in this from the black and white series, but this version's done in colour, which is really nice. I think it blends in quite well with the CoverGirls. As we head down, the most part here, we've got what are called the Bombshells. So these are almost pin-up girls reimagined as characters from the DC universe. So some pretty cool throwbacks. You've got here the very famous sort of World War II photograph of the sailor kissing the nurse, and it's reversed there to have Harley kissing the Joker. So yeah, some pretty cool 1940s sort of pin-up girls there, and they continue there. They're all reimagined in sort of different versions. Secretary Catwoman with the cat around her neck, and yeah, Cheetah on the hunt. So that's pretty cool. And then we get into some of the Suicide Squad statues from the movie, which it's a pretty nice representation of Margot Robbie. So I probably never have the real Margot Robbie in my house, but it's a pretty close second. And you get through here the animated series Harley Quinn, which was actually Harley's first introduction into life through the Bruce Timm animated series. So a nice version of that in statue form. Yeah, so a bit of the stuff that sort of doesn't fit anywhere else. I've got Bravestarr, a bit of the mint on card and a bit of the loose. It's by no means a complete collection. You've got characters like Thunderstick, who's the purple guy with the cowboy hat, which can be pretty hard to find, so I haven't managed to find him on a card yet. And then I've got what I couldn't fit on my shelf in terms of Batman animated. So you've got a few really cool versions. Huge fan of the film that came out, which is The Mask of the Phantasm. So we've got a 2-pack with the Phantasm and Batman. But yeah, you've got Batman Beyond with the old Bruce Wayne, and then you got a bit of the new collector Ninja Turtle stuff at the front, and culminating here in what is probably the best Fred Wolf versions of the animated series Ninja Turtles, which is done by S.H. Fagats. Yeah, that's probably the most authentic Fred Wolf Ninja Turtles that you get. They're expensive, but the articulation in them is just absolutely sensational. And you'll see that the legs are made of metal, so you can get some kicking poses, and they just balance really nicely, so you never got any risk of these falling over. As you get to the bottom, just a few random things from Turtles. We've got the first Goken, which is the Krang. Yeah, really beautiful piece you see in the inside the Krang. The cavity lights up, and you can get real light up features. Got a lot of metal parts on him. As you pan along to the Shredder, you've got the basically it's sort of like a Hot Toys version of Shredder, which is pretty nice. He's sort of done in that Fred Wolf style, but interpreted for the more realistic kind of look. And then you got the first figure that from the Mondo Mirage style of Ninja Turtles. They're doing basically the 4 Turtles, and we've only got the one to date, but he's a really solid figure. He comes with both the sort of Fred Wolf version of the coloured blue bandana, as well as the Mirage style red bandana in the background. As we pan along, thanks to Frank Allen for the hotspot that sort of gets a special place in a protective clamshell because of the obscurity of him. And you know, he's a pretty random figure, but happy to try to include him in my collection. Just still missing Scratch, so that's probably the one that's gonna pain me to get. But yeah, some room there to basically fill out the rest of the Mondos when they arrive. So yeah, huge Turtles fan, absolutely loved it, grew up with it. So couldn't actually imagine a time where you'd get things like Toon Turtles in the line. I remember being an adult and basically discovering that they existed, so went back and tried to collect the Toon Turtle stuff. But yeah, some really great stuff. I mean, some of the movies, particularly the third movie, might leave a little bit to be desired, but they still make really cool figures. The versions of the Turtles are awesome. Got Tokka and Raza that make their figure appearance. Probably not as big as they should be. Same as Super Shredder, he's probably a little bit smaller in stature than he should be in a figure form, but nonetheless they're pretty cool representations. And although we've got the stuff from NECA coming out now, which are absolute carbon copies of the costumes we've seen in the Turtles films, these versions of the Turtles hold a sweet spot. And as you can see there, I'm still yet to uncover Mikey, so if anyone listening's got a Mikey on card that they want to send my way for less than $160 US, I'd be happy to take them up. Yeah, but the Toon Turtles, I think you sort of pan along, they all had their gimmicky action features, like Mikey's got the pop-out tongue, Leo with the bug-out eyes, Donnie's bandana spins around, and Raphael, I think his head spins around. But in terms of what Playmates gave us, this is probably the best Shredder figure we ever got in the line, which is the same sculpt or buck as the original 1988 Wave 1 Shredder, but it's just painted more correctly to resemble the cartoon. And as you can see, we'll probably get to Shredder in a bit in terms of the other figures I've got, but they actually painted his helmet correctly here. The Shredder, they sort of painted part of the top of his helmet in skin tone, which just makes him look a little bit goofy in my opinion. So really nice to get that version of Shredder. So yeah, the remainder of my Turtles collection, which is sort of gets you back to the where it all began here with the 4 Turtles, April, Splinter, Bebop, Rocksteady, Foot Soldier, and Shredder. I think I was talking a little bit before about the paint apps on Shredder. So you can see here they sort of misinterpreted where his helmet was and did the skin tone on the actual top of the helmet, which I think, I don't know, just sort of makes that figure look a little bit goofy. A lot of complaints probably about the size of him. He doesn't have, he's got the bare chest, which is sort of strange. But anyway, that was our Wave 1 Shredder. Some really cool figures in there, just really bright colours for a lot of them, and they just really pop. You got some pretty cool action features here, like with Mutagen Man. Basically, you've got guts pieces that you can sort of tear off here, put them inside the body and fill it with water. So he's got his different organs in there. There's a little sort of skull and livers and kidneys and all the parts. So what sort of 8-year-old boy wouldn't want a figure like that? I think the guys at Playmates were basically told if they got a good design, they'd make it into a figure. So you had all the sort of illustrators at Mirage entering in for Playmates figures. So you got some pretty obscure stuff, but like they make some pretty cool figures in their own right. Like some of the more obscure stuff, like Dirtbag, he's like a mole, and you know, he looks pretty nasty. You got King Lionheart. I think there's a joke sort of running around Playmates that if you're designing a figure for Ninja Turtles, you had to have two different sort of feet. So one with the shoe off and one with the shoe on. You sort of see that theme repeated if you actually look closely there. Shoe off, shoe on, shoe on, shoe off, shoe on, shoe off. It's the same sort of thing. It sounds like a song, doesn't it? Something like that. But essentially that's sort of the way they kept a lot of visual interest in the toys that they were producing. You see that. They're probably not necessarily replicas of what we saw on screen in animation, but they make really visually interesting figures. So kudos for the creators of Playmates and the designers at Mirage and Playmates that were contributing ideas to this line. It's just such a cool line. And yeah, I think I've got about 17 odd figures to what I'd sort of where I want to get to in this collection. Certainly that would be by no means complete with all the variants of the Turtles. But yeah, for me, I'm sort of happy to have all the unique characters, and that's sort of what I'm after. Yeah, so I guess my love of Batman the Animated Series and the TV show done by Bruce Timm and Warner Brothers obviously got me into the toy line. So I was sort of at the age where I could spend my own money on toys, and I remember walking into Toy World at Victor Harbour and spending $13, and I reckon I paid full price to get my Combat Belt Batman and crank him open. But yeah, it's just such a great representation of the animated version. You've got a lot of work done here in terms of reuse of sculpts. This looks like the second movie, The Batman Returns, where they actually featured Robin even though he didn't appear in the film, and they've reused the Robin buck minus the head on the Robin figure. So really, like I was talking off camera to Davey and Ben and saying, that stuff bothered me at a certain point in time, but now it's sort of part of the magic and part of what the toys were doing in terms of finding the most economical way to market on some of this stuff. So yeah, got some really cool stuff here. Again, this is the Harley that is based on the first version of Harley ever to appear, and Harley's really hot right now in terms of the collector circle. She sells really well, so I don't know what that figure's worth, but it would be interesting to sort of see one day if that's more collectible than some of the other stuff in this line because of the roots of the character. But yeah, again, love what DC Direct is doing with this line now, but I'll always have a huge love and respect for what Kenner did back in the early 90s on this line. Yeah, love it. Yeah, so they had a number of vehicles in the Kenner Batman Animated Series line as well, and two of the most iconic are the Batplane and the Batmobile. But yeah, there's some other random vehicles that probably Kenner threw in that bore no resemblance to what we saw in the animated series as well. So yeah, I guess I just love the artwork on these box arts as well. So and the toys are pretty cool, even though we've got probably updates from DC Direct, DC Collectibles on these now. They still hold a lot of nostalgia for me. And this shelf also just sort of brings in some of the other vehicles that I've collected over the time, as Davey sort of navigates the tight spaces in the room. We've got the Trimaran, which unfortunately has got a bit of glare there, but that's from Kevin Costner's Waterworld, which was probably a box office bomb, but the toys, Kenner was picking up all sorts of licenses at the time, so we got some pretty random stuff from Kenner. The Batmobile Bat Missile, which just replicates one of the really cool action sequences from Batman Returns, the film, where the vehicle basically splits apart to get through the tight gap. And yeah, we got basically the Playmates did some commemoratives, so that's my tribute to the Turtle Van because I don't have the original. We head along, we got things like the Strata Coach, a bit of stuff from, which is Bravestarr, which is a pretty cool vehicle, a bit of stuff from Terminator. Got the Shadow and a little bit of stuff from both Master of the Universe and the He-Man line, which again, those two lines both feature some really nice artwork that makes up the box art. So for me, getting those vehicles on card is great because of the brilliance of the box art. So I could collect that stuff all day long. So a small tribute to the Inspector Gadget cartoon, which I loved. Funnily enough, that's the first time we ever saw Dr. Claw's face was in figure form. The mint-on card version of him actually had his face protected by a little cardboard insert with a question mark, and you had to buy the figure to reveal what the face looked like. So there you go, that looks nothing like I imagined him as my childhood, and I'm sure the creators of Inspector Gadget are probably pretty disappointed with the way he turned out, with what... I'm trying to think who produced this toy line. I think it might have been Tiger produced. We head into Thundercats, which is a line by LJN, which is pretty obscure and can be pretty hard to come by. Some pretty cool action features in the toys, like Lino had the light up eyes there. You've got the Mum-Ra on camera now, which was the exclusive mail away figure. Really quite a large scale, even bigger than Master of the Universe at the time. And they were really true in terms of the scale to the characters you've got there at the back. Mum-Ra in his non-mummified form, which is really just towers over a lot of the other characters. Green the Destroyer, he's pretty big as well. So really cool to see some size variation in toy lines. Yeah, so background, we've got the remainder of the Master Universe vs. Snake Man and Master Universe 2000X stuff, but in the foreground, which you can see, you've got a bit of DC, which is, there's a bit of the loose Justice stuff, and in the foreground you've got the Justice League Unlimited Justice League figures, which are pretty cool. You get along Ultra Human Eye, Supergirl, you got Metallo's chest opens up and he's got the Kryptonite inside, which is really nice. And then my loose in the background, you've got Mattel's version of the comic book Watchmen characters. So you've got the 6 main guys in that film, and then a bit of random DC stuff in the background. But foreground, you've got, now we're getting into loose Batman animated stuff and New Adventures of Batman, which we showed you before in terms of some of the mint-on card stuff. But they're big favourites of mine. Different versions. We've got the Penguin, as you'll see as you go past sort of Tali. You've got almost the business suit version of Penguin, which when Bruce Timm was doing Batman the Animated Series, wanted to have that version, but had to go with more the Danny DeVito from Batman Returns because it was going to tie in with the film. So when they got to New Adventures, he was able to go back and do his sort of the version of Penguin that he wanted to do all along, which is another very iconic version. But happy we got both the sort of Danny DeVito inspired and the more traditional sort of businessman look as well. So they're pretty cool figures. Bit of stuff in the background there from Hush, which is a really cool comic book run. Bit of Street Fighter, a bit of random stuff, and a bit of the Arkham universe Batman figures in the background as well. So just a bit more random stuff. Another Dr. Claw there finding his way, and a bit of the Kenner stuff there from Robin Hood and various Police Academy things coming back. Darkwing Duck, which was a favourite cartoon of mine as a kid, so a couple of the figures from that. And then we get into Bucky O'Hare, which I've sort of collected a bit loose and a bit mint-on card, which was pretty random, but loved it as a kid and went out, loved the duck with the 4 arms there that's on camera now. I think his name is Deadeye Duck. He's sort of, a shot, but just really loved the designs and the sort of colour schemes. So another toy line that's pretty cool. Bit of toxic stuff that I think I got from you, Davey.
Yep.
Fair bit there. So just started collecting that and need to round it off. So, but probably some of the stuff got mixed up with Ninja Turtles because it's done by Playmates, and I think it had a Fred Wolf cartoon tie-in as well. But just some really zany sort of stuff, glow in the dark stuff, really bright colours, and I think it's a toy line that's probably getting more and more appreciation now as people sort of collect Turtles and some of the other things from that era. So a bit of the Turtle stuff, and as you'll see here as you start off, I'm a big Fugitoid fan, so you'll see different versions of Fugitoid. Quite a few chrome versions which are really nice and shiny, which I love, so that's pretty cool. As you sort of scroll along, we've got the NECA stuff, which is really awesome based on the Mirage comic books, and finally to get the sort of Shredder Foot Soldier Elite Guard wave recently by NECA Toys as a San Diego Comic Con exclusive was just great after that line sort of got cancelled back in 2008, 2010 or so. A bit of Ninja Turtles at the front and Filmation Masters at the back, but you've got here sort of
staple first wave of 10 figures as we go along. Yeah, you've got Baxter Stockman in the background, which is a figure that I never saw at retail as a kid and had to wait till I was an adult collector to sort of collect him. But yeah, just fell in love with obviously Ninja Turtles figures. We'll get to Casey in a minute, which is we were talking about before. This is sort of a wit figure from the Turtle Pulp vehicle that came out for the Turtles 3 tie-in. We never thought actually there were more than one Casey Jones action figures, but you can transform the wit figure into Casey by putting on the hockey mask and taking off the tunic. So yeah, really nice addition to have a movie Casey, and only discovered really in 2016 that this figure existed. So love that. Got a few customs coming up here because I was too tight-assed to fork out money on the actual movie Turtles, so I bought some bootlegs and the paint apps were horrible, so I custom them up. So yeah, probably a bit hit and miss how they turned out, but yeah, rounding out some of the Toon Turtles and movie 3 Turtles, which are pretty cool. You know, whether that film is your cup of tea or not, the designs I think are really nice, and love the flocking. As we get to the end, we got Splinter, who actually is a flocked version of the sculpt that we've had before, so that's pretty cool to get a flocked Splinter as well. So yeah, loving the Turtles. Probably try and collect more than mint on card stuff, but you know, get a bit of loose stuff to throw together. Looks pretty cool on the shelf. Yeah, so the animated stuff from DC Collectibles has some larger scale packs as well, which are sort of slotted in here underneath. Some pretty cool stuff. You got Clayface, which is always like a big bulky character with his multiple attachments, so you can sort of, and multiple heads as well, which is really nice. You got the bat signal, which actually works. But being a mint on card collector, you know, these are the things you miss out on when you don't crank your stuff open. Empty case there, it's great. And yeah, bit of the other stuff. This one down here was superb to get. First time we've ever had a Roxy rocket in figure form. So yeah, she comes with her trademark rocket, battery operated, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, and Man-Bat, who funnily enough is the villain in the very first episode of Batman the Animated Series. It's spoilers, Kirk Langstrom taking the bat serum to try and cure a problem that he's got. So there you go. So some really nice figures again.
Some 1990 spoilers as well.
Yeah. I'm happy to spoil things that are sort of 30 years old. So no qualms. So Mezco did a line of sort of large scale, 1/4 scale Thundercats. If you ever want to know how to get yourself to buy 2 linos, just pack a snarf in the second one you're going to release, and you get all the collectors buying up 2 versions. And yeah, Chitara rounds out some of the other key Thundercats. She's actually wearing clothes in this figure, not unlike the intro to the animated series, where, funnily enough, all the Thundercats are naked in that first opener, which is unusual. But yeah, you got Tigra, Panthro, really nice representations in that larger scale. So yeah, although they're kind of a pain to store in the toy room, they're really cool. Different versions of the characters. I think they obviously spent a lot on the molds, so you can get a phasing version of Tigra. You've sort of got the stealth version of Chitara with the white eyes, but yeah, I sort of have steered clear of the variants as much as I can because it's space and cost. But yeah, pretty cool. Mezco's done a good job, and they're slowly eking out these figures. They've probably been doing it for probably about 5 or 6 years now. Figure here and there, but yeah, really cool. Yeah, so special thanks to Ben Sachs for getting me into Battle Beasts. He started collecting this and it just reignited the nostalgia I had as a kid. I had the 2-pack, which was basically this giraffe guy and this sort of turtle guy. That's it, that's all I had. They were pretty obscure back in the day, but yeah, just got into it, and they're pretty tough to collect, pretty tough to find. In Australia, yeah. Look, yeah, I'm sure they're probably more plentiful overseas in the US, etc. But really cool designs. I'm not too fussed with my collection about the rubs. A lot of the rubs have sort of come off. They had the gimmick where you'd sort of, the Transformers rub gimmick, where you'd rub them and they had either fire, wood, or water, and obviously wood would defeat water, and water would defeat fire, and fire would defeat wood. So you could have your little battles. Which was pretty cool. Yeah, so they came up with some pretty cool designs. You've got you know, all sorts of different characters. Gruesome Gator is a personal favourite, you know, he's sort of just, how cool does that look? And you imagine those being blown up in a bigger scale, they'd be very much the sort of size and scale of a Masters figure in terms of that chunkiness. So yeah, huge fan of the line, nice bright colours, very reminiscent of the 80s. Not quite complete, I think I've got about 10 figures to go. Another one of my personal favourites as a kid was trying to collect Monster in My Pockets. So this is probably where I first started actually collecting toys as a kid. I had to get all 48 and I did that and then sold them off for like 20 cents at a garage sale, which I regret. So now I've gone back and sort of recreated that. It pains me, like so many of the characters are done in every colour. Like the more powerful ones are sort of done in 2 colours, but you get down to those 5, 10, 15 points and you've got to get them in each colour. So been trying to round out that collection, but yeah, again, just some really nice designs. You've got here's personal favourite, which is the werewolf character, and just, yeah, just the sculpting and the detail of that, even though they're just sort of monochromatic, they just look great. And always wanted, I think, like, you know, Ostie's got the big mountain that they all go in, which is a really nice set. Probably got nowhere to put it and don't have it, but something I'd love to get is that that giant sort of volcano mountain which you can store them in. So I managed to get Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson in the room. No, wait, they're just the Hot Toys versions. No, but they've done an amazing way of somehow capturing the likeness of these guys. You remove the top of the head and they've got a joystick inside which allows you to move the eyes. So they've got, it's an action feature, movable eyes, which is pretty amazing. But that's the sort of caliber Hot Toys goes to. There, so they're pretty nice. But yeah, very modest Hot Toys collection. I've got those 2 guys. I've got the Christopher Reeve Superman and the Ben Affleck armoured Batman, which is obviously a nod to Frank Miller and his work in The Dark Knight Returns. And then yeah, just a few sort of random things that fill out the Detolf. A few statues and a bit of Game of Thrones stuff. Massive Game of Thrones fan, so tucked away in the collection somewhere are all the statues and figures that they've produced. Funko did some figures, but they didn't take off, so they've been clearanced, but the statues are really nice by Dark Horse, and you can pick them up for about 30 to 40 bucks Australian, so yeah, pretty cool. So this is my sort of tribute to Kotobukiya, some of the sort of Japanese anime inspired versions of films, Wonder Woman, Batwoman and Starfire, and then I've got a tribute to one of my favourite TV series, which is The Legend of Kora, based on the Avatar series. You got here, which is just a really sort of 6-inch scale of Harley from Suicide Squad, but that's SH Figure Arts at its best. It's just, I mean, you wouldn't know. I was taking pictures of that and posting it along with my 1/4 scale Michelle Pfeiffer, and people were thinking they were the same scale, so it's just credit to what they've been able to produce at that scale. Head down, we got a bit of the Staction action, so a bit of stuff from Masters and Thundercats. Some really nice non-articulated sort of figures, which are sort of mini statues in line with action figure lines. Pan right down, and we've got a bit of a tribute to the Watchmen movie, which you know, many people would say is probably not the best film, but it's probably one of the best film adaptations of Watchmen that they could have made. And I think we're going to see some more in terms of television series in Watchmen coming up, which will be great to see. That's going to join the DC universe as well in comics, so pretty cool, big Watchmen fan. And then just a bit of random stuff at the bottom. You got Zorn, the Laser Bolt from Master of the Universe, and a bit of the G.I. Joe commemorative stuff at the back, which is my one shout out to Guy, who is a big G.I. Joe fan, sort of my one tribute to a bit of G.I. Joe action, which is another great 80s toy line, which I just haven't been able to do proper service to, but sort of love it anyway. So a little bit of stuff that I couldn't fit on my other display from Master of the Universe on card. Like some of the action features on this stuff, you got Mosquito here with the blood pumping action. The Horde logo is actually liquid blood, which is pretty cool. I like what they did here. I think it sort of started with Terraclaw Skeletor, but they've got the actual little depiction of the character there in sort of cartoon form. I think that just adds so much to the later waves, so really nice to see that on the mint on card figures. As we sort of pan along here, this is a Joe Amato special here. It's a custom battle armor faker. It does a great job, the old Mr. Amato, and they've got you know, complete with packaging and mini comic insert as well. And the Sorceress, which is probably a, you know, like I said, it's probably not the best depiction or version of the Sorceress, but it has that love and nostalgia in terms of the figure itself. So yeah, a bit of that stuff. I've got the Grislaw. and then yeah, if you sort of pan around, I've got the trilingual, a bit hard to see, but trilingual sorceress there, which is another, you know, version of the card that's there, and Rio Blast. This is a block mount that we acquired when Time Zone Harley Street closed down back in the late 90s. It's based on the video game for Ninja Turtles. As you can see there, it's got the Konami badge on it, which is a really nice version, which sort of melds the Mirage stuff. As you see him taking on the Utroms here, you've got the sort of concept version of the Utroms and Krang appearing there. I think it's actually badged as, let me get the date right, I believe, yeah, it's 1989, Konami and Mirage. Really nice colours on it, and you've got some, you know, obviously red bandanas, even the red belts, which is interesting. But you can see there as they're being sort of teleported, trying to think which way it goes, but you know, the battle with the Triceratons that they then have in the other dimension. So yeah, really nice piece, block mount, really nice and sturdy. So it's something that I've had for a long time, but might be moving it on fairly soon.
And where did it come from?
Yeah, Time Zone in Hindley Street. Must have been hanging on their walls for a good sort of 10 years or so, and then yeah, when they shut up shop and got closed down, it moved into my possession. So yeah, one of the prized pieces in my collection is the Eternia playset. So you know, probably one of the rarer playsets, and I think it had a pretty nasty retail price when it hit the market in the late 80s as the line sort of closed. Really cool features here. I'll just come in front of the camera here. But for those of you that don't have the Eternia or haven't seen it close up, it's got the claws that can grab the figures, chuck them in the mouth, and there's a lever back here that I won't be able to reach, but that operates the mouth that's opening and closing. So yeah, you got the sort of the grab mouth action. You got little things like the gargoyles move across, and you can store, you know, hidden weapons in there as well. I've got the other bits floating around, but when you've got all three towers, you can connect a monorail, and you've got, if I can find it, basically this piece here that you put a battery in. It's got a wheel and it runs around the monorail, and you can attach, there's a couple of three different attachments that go onto that. You can put figures in there and fly them around, which is pretty cool. You've got the sort of the cannon at the top here, which you can attach both Fright Fighter and Blaster Hawk to, if you don't want that one that it comes in. So that's a pretty nice nod. And yeah, like I was saying, here's one of the attachments that you sort of connect, sort of slots in there, and then that you know, figure fits in and it can traverse around. Plenty of little bits and bobs, so it's pretty hard to find complete. I'm missing a few bits, but you know, there's a few of the parts. It's got some really round, I don't know what the hell that thing is. Like a harp or something, but yeah, do you know any more, Ben? What is that thing?
It's a grappling hook to hang off.
Right, okay, that's cool. You've got Ninja's bow done in the gold casting, and you've got these sort of grapple hooks that you can hang on. So yeah, a blaster and various things and weapons that you can attach here to the top. It's got the flags. I'm missing one flag pole, and these are repro flag stickers because they didn't come with the flags. But yeah, really cool playset, a lot of play value in it, and yeah, it's beautiful. And here we got the toy line by Hasbro from the 1990 TV cartoon series, Bucky O'Hare. It's a 10-figure series, fairly obscure, but some pretty cool characters in it. Much like Ninja Turtles and Street Shark, sort of the humanoid characters, based on a comic book series. And
video game.
And yeah, I think there was a video game. Thanks Ben. Also, Big Boss Studios have got the license currently to produce Bucky O'Hare figures. They're doing a sort of 4.5-inch figure, which is very comic book accurate. So Bucky O'Hare only had the one wave of run, and there's a widely publicised wave 2 and wave 3 that got prototype figures released. So yeah, hopefully the Big Boss Studio figures are looking pretty good. They've got interchangeable faces, and yeah, they're looking pretty nice, and that might help round out some of the figures we missed out on in wave 2 and 3. So yeah, looking forward to that. So unfortunately, to get these, I did have to sucker punch a small baby, but I did go there, and I've got now a
complete set of the figures from Toxic Crusaders, mint on card, unpunched. The colours are still really bright on all the cards. They're probably the brightest cards I'd have in my entire collection. I don't think we'll ever see anything brighter. Yeah, really great figures. You've got some pretty cool action features here too if you're a fan of glow-in-the-dark toys. Got all the glow-in-the-dark accessories for Bonehead. And each character came with a secret glow-in-the-dark accessory, which is pretty cool as well. You go through here to the Radiation Ranger, which for all you army builders is probably, you know, a pretty choice one to get. And then towards the end we've got a couple of the vehicles from the line as well. And Davey, I think you point out this is probably the best vehicle ever made by Playmates, or ever made in general.
Either.
Yeah, so Playmates is at the pinnacle of vehicles and this is at the top. So yeah, really happy to finally get them into the collection. A few little candy holders. Like just the, I guess sort of the love of merchandising of anything back in the day was great. You know, you probably don't see that as much these days, so really cool to see this sort of stuff.
So there's another collection done and dusted. A massive thanks going out to Trent for letting us check that out. Now don't forget, if you have a collection you'd like to show off and let me steal some of your toys, make sure you comment me on ICQ, MSN Messenger, or hit me up on MySpace. If that all fails, hit me up on Facebook or even on YouTube. So, haven't had sex with that yet, but once I do, I'll let you know. I'll probably even film it. Anyway, this has been the Davey Damage Show. Thanks again for checking it out. We'll see you next time.